There's this really bizarre marketing strategy where a plant seller will take an existing plant, slap on a new name for it, and trademark it. Exhibit A, Mysteria spotsylvania. This is just a Monstera constellation. It is one of the most recognizable houseplants of the last decade, and it's being sold under a trademarked name, Mysteria spotsylvania. Proven Winners also sells the Mysteria deliciosa, the Mysteria mint, and the Mysteria white monster. None of these plants were created by Proven Winners through mutation selection or hybridization. They are all just plants that already existed that they have renamed for marketing purposes. They trademark names for a lot of different common houseplants, not just the Mysterias. The Hoyas are no longer Hoyas, they're now endless cascades. The philodendrons are prismacolors, and the nerve plants are network news for some reason. My personal favorite is network news, current news, because what the is that name? Botanical nomenclature has left the chat. Proven Winners describes themselves as a team of experts in horticultural plant and brand development. So their main focus is marketing. In my opinion, the goal of renaming these plants is to own the name that people use to talk about it. If you can convince enough people that Mysteria spotsylvania is the real name of this plant, and people are using that name to talk about the plant and search for it online, then effectively you're the only one who can sell that plant. It goes a little deeper than that even, which I want to get into more today. But first, if you've never seen me before, my name is Lore, and typically I make videos about tissue culture, but sometimes a topic like this worms its way into my brain and I feel compelled to speak. Tissue culture, if you are curious, is a method of cloning plants. Anyone can do it, and you can even do it at home. I have a ton of different tutorials teaching complete beginners how to do tissue culture. I'm going to link my most beginner-friendly tutorial below. I also sell the supplies to make tissue culture media, which is the gel that you can clone plants on my website, plantsinjars.shop. If you don't want to clone plants, I also sell really cool t-shirts on my website as well, so check it out. So first we need to talk about what a trademark actually is and how it's different than a plant patent, which is another form of intellectual property that can be applied to plants. I recently made a video all about plant patents called You Wouldn't Download a Plant. You can actually own the rights to a plant if you invent it, and to invent a plant, you either need to hybridize it by combining two plants together or discover it through a randomly occurring mutation. A plant patent lasts 20 years and no one else can grow or sell your plant without your express permission. Trademarks are a different form of intellectual property that can also apply to plants. A trademark just protects the name of the plant, and unlike patents, trademarks can be renewed indefinitely, so in theory they can last for all of eternity. If you have a plant patent, you can also trademark a name for that plant, but you don't need a patent to create a trademark. You or anyone else can take any non-patented, already existing plant and come up with a new trademarked name for it and sell it under your own branding. That's exactly what Proven Winners did with all of those examples that I provided before from their website. In theory, you at home could pay $250, file a trademark for any of those plants with the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and name the plants whatever you like. Philodendron pee-pee poo-poo. In my opinion, the problem is that some plant sellers mimic the sound of real cultivar names, and sometimes even botanical naming conventions, to make trademarked names sound more scientific and legitimate, therefore encouraging people to use the trademarked names instead of the plant's real name. A plant name is structured like this: genus, species, cultivar, Monstera, deliciosa, tag constellation. This naming structure is familiar to anyone who's been around plants, even casually. Mysteria spotsylvania is also vaguely Latinish, location-based, and sort of botanical sounding. So your brain goes, oh, that looks official. That must be the name of this plant. Ironically, that's not really how trademarks are supposed to work. When a trademark becomes the common name for something, it's called genericization. This happens when a trademark becomes so widely used that people stop seeing it as a brand and start just seeing it as the name for something. And when this happens, a trademark can actually lose its legal protection. Tony Avent is the owner of Plant Delight's Nursery and Juniper Level Botanic Garden, and he's written this really amazing piece called Name That Plant, The Misuse of Trademarks in Horticulture. I will have the full thing linked below. Avent says nurseries are told by their trademark lawyers as long as they enforce their trademarks by making sure the cultivar name is always included with the trademark name, their trademarks would remain valid. This bizarre thinking, however, defeats the entire reason for improperly using trademarks, which is to trick the public into thinking the trademark name is the generic name of the product. It is this intentional deceit that will one day bring the Federal Trade Commission onto the horticultural scene. We can see an example of what Avent is talking about here on the Proven Winners website, where they do in fact include the plant's actual name, secondary to the front and center trademarked name. I'm using Proven Winners as an example today because I think that the names they come up with are kind of funny, but there are other plant sellers who do this as well. Mountain Crest Garden is a plant nursery and they sell the Chick Charms line of hen and chick succulents. This is Chick Charms Trio, Berries and Cream. Monrovia sells the Jurassic Brontosaurus tongue fern and the Tectonic Eruption begonia. Compliments to whoever is naming the plants at Monrovia. I think those are really fun. Also, if any of these companies would like to bring on a plant naming consultant, my inbox is open. I would like to be the person who names the plants.
Philodendron pee-pee poo-poo.
It's also worth noting that just because a plant seller has come up with a new name for a plant doesn't mean that it's necessarily trademarked. Rare Plant Fairy sells a philodendron quadricolor white knight under the name Philodendron Skittles. The name Skittles isn't trademarked, at least not by Rare Plant Fairy. The person who sold or traded the original quadricolor white knight to Rare Plant Fairy, Tiffany Pepe, was pretty mad that they renamed her plant. In a Facebook post, she said that by calling the plant Philodendron Skittles, Rare Plant Fairy is using their social media reach to create unnecessary confusion amongst buyers and create the illusion of exclusivity of this plant to their brand. So even without the legal protection of a trademark, you can see how coming up with a name for a plant creates exclusivity for a plant seller. And that's just the name on its own. Once you layer on plant patents on top of plant trademarks, that is where things get very interesting indeed. Just as a reminder, a plant patent, protects a breeder's rights for 20 years. When you file a patent for a brand new plant that you have invented, you get to come up with a name for that plant. This is not a trademarked name, this is the official name of the plant. As I mentioned before, plant names are structured genus, species, cultivar name. The genus and the species are already decided, but the cultivar name is where you get to be creative. The International Code of Nomenclature for Cultivated Plants outlines the guidelines for choosing a cultivar name. 1. The name cannot be confused with another plant. 2. The name cannot be misleading. 3. The name cannot be Latinized or Latin sounding, otherwise it'll get confused for a scientific name. And lastly, the name cannot be a trademark. A trademark must be separate from the actual registered cultivar name. Unfortunately, when some growers patent a plant, they'll give it a cultivar name that looks like a Wi-Fi password. A lot of times, breeders just use internal breeding codes as the formal cultivar name of the plant. David Austin Roses has a lot of good examples of this. In 2005, they registered a patent for a rose hybrid, and they gave it the cultivar name Os Roomba. But that's not the name that you would see in stores, because they also gave it a trademarked name, Gentle Hermione. The patent was filed in 2005, it expired 20 years later, and in 2025, the plant officially entered into public domain. That means that anyone could sell this plant without giving any money to the original inventor, David Austin. The problem is that trademarks are indefinitely renewable, so even if you wanted to sell this rose, you're not allowed to sell it under the name that everyone would recognize it by, Gentle Hermione. So in practice, if you give your plant a really crappy cultivar name, then the trademark does what a patent can't. It extends legal control, or at least some legal control, over the plant well past the 20-year time period that a patent allows for, since trademarks can be renewed indefinitely. The legal system, unfortunately, sort of rewards these bad cultivar names. I'm curious what you guys think of this trademarking business. On one hand, I kind of get it because branding is extremely important, especially when a lot of different plant sellers are selling the same exact non-patented plants. It can be hard to set yourself apart from other sellers. But on the other hand, it does feel weird when one plant, like the Thai constellation, can exist under multiple different names, especially when some of those names are designed to sound like the real name. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you've seen any like really unhinged plant names in the wild, let me know what they are. I would like to hear them. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video, which will be a vlog. I'm obsessed with vlogging now. Bye.